Hi, I'm Gary, and this is EV Musings, a podcast about renewables, electric vehicles, and things that are interesting to electric vehicle owners. On the show today, we'll be following up on the new EV tyres that we put on last season. I know it's been a while, but if you cast your mind back to last season, episode 278 to be precise, I spoke with Neil Barrett from Hankook. At the time, we were talking about the impact of having an EV-specific tyre on the vehicle and what benefits that will provide. Thanks to Neil and his team, I swapped out my tyres for a set of Hankook ION EVOs, which are designed specifically for electric vehicles. And the reason I did this is because when I took delivery of my Polestar 2, it had been fitted with a set of Davantis tyres, which are, let's be charitable about this, budget tyres. And the issue with this is that they were providing quite a lot of road noise when I drove the car. So I figured it might be time to get some sort of upgraded tyres onto the vehicle. The Hankook ION series tyres are developed from the rubber attached to the Formula E series of race cars, so you know they're probably going to be ideal for electric driving. But apart from putting some newer tyres or some new rubber on the car, I wanted to check and see what sort of an impact these tyres had on my efficiency. Was I getting a longer range? Did they in fact reduce the noise I was experiencing? Things like that. At the same time, Andrew Till, Mr. EV, and I had a chat. We worked out that he'd also been given some tyres by Hankook. But they were all weather tyres, so slightly different to mine, which were effectively summer tyres. He had the ION FlexClimate tyres. Now, I put mine on in late October, so I've had them on for about 6 months. But before I did, I managed to take a few measurements for things like efficiency. On top of that, I took several measurements around road noise when driving the car. I did this on a 15-minute local run, which I repeated several times to get an average. I also did a run up and down a local dual carriageway between two roundabouts to see what that did. This run had several rough and smooth parts to validate the difference the tyres made as well. As an average, the inside of the car was showing noise in the 68 decibel range prior to fitting the new tyres. So how have things done, and what's happened with Andrew Till and his tyres? Let's go over and see.
The EV Musings podcast is sponsored by ZapMap, the go-to app for EV drivers, helping you find and pay for public charging with confidence.
So, Andrew.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the tyres they put on your vehicle.
Yes, so these are the ION FlexClimate SUV. These are all-season tyres. And the reason I put on all seasons is because my previous tyres were all seasons as well. So I had, what were they? Oh, goodness. It was the Goodyear Vector 4 seasons before. So I wanted to swap like for like because it wouldn't have been fair if I'd gone for different tyres, summer tyres. So got the all seasons. And they're really good.
Excellent. And as I say, I've got the ION, the EVOs, which are specifically designed for electric vehicles. They're not all seasons. They're just, I think we call them summer tyres.
Yes.
Although I do use them all year, but hey, there we go. So the three things or the three major areas that we need to have a quick discussion about are what's it done to the handling of the car? Does it sound any better? And has it made your driving any more efficient?
Yes. Okay.
Any sequence, any order that you want to go with on those?
Well, let's go handling first.
Okay.
Now, it's not like the e-Niro is some sort of handling master anyway, right? I mean, it's a kind of a crossover-y sort of thing. Handling is not its main job. However, it's been pretty good, but then it was pretty good before. So my old Goodyears were very good, especially in bad weather. I mean, that's the thing. These all seasons are amazing. It's a revelation for me, really. I would see people just slipping around in the ice. In fact, when it got really icy down my road, there was a Tesla that was going all over the place. And I was smug as anything when I was driving with my Goodyears. And it'll be the same with these. All seasons are great. So in terms of handling, I've felt no real difference between the old tyres and these ones. It's been very good for both.
Excellent. And from my point of view, as you may know, I had some old Chinese cheap brand Davantis. Don't know how many miles had been put on before I got the vehicle as I got it second hand. But having put these on, I don't have any sort of empirical data, but anecdotally, they feel better. I took them not too long ago, actually. I went to the Cotswolds, and it's all uphill and down dale, and there's a nice big road there that kind of drops down and sweeps around with a fairly sharp curve on it. And I felt quite comfortable at not speeding, because of course we do like to keep to the speed limits, but rather than having to sort of slam the brakes on and go around, I felt comfortable letting the car use the weight of the car to go around the corner, and it gripped. It was fantastic.
It's all about having confidence, isn't it? And I think I have complete confidence driving this in whatever the weather.
Yeah.
And that they just feel nice and planted, and yeah. So
we've also had some fairly wet weather over the last couple of months.
Well, we have.
And I think, I haven't noticed any problem with the braking distance. I didn't feel comfortable putting the brakes on.
Oh, yeah.
And not having aquaplaning. And
no, exactly. Yeah.
And, I've got bad history with aquaplaning.
Yeah, I remember you saying about that. Yes. Yeah, God.
But
yeah. So yeah, no, they seem really good and solid, and yeah.
So let's talk noise.
Yes.
Now, you and I both have used it's actually an app that's been used to help people who work in loud environments to see whether there's any occupational safety and health sort of violations. But the flip side to that is you can stick it in the car, you can do a journey, and it will record high decibels, average decibels, that sort of thing. And you can then do the same journey a number of times, average it out, and compare with the old tyres versus the new tyres. Now, you've done that, I've done that.
Yep.
What were your results?
So I would do the drive back from school every day. So I did this 4 times to get an average. Just let me consult my little black book.
Come with figures and everything.
I've
Fantastic.
got figures and everything, I know. I always feel a little bit like Johnny Smith when I've got my little black book, which is no bad thing. So the Hankooks were better. So I got an average of 67.9 decibels in the Hankooks. It was 68.7 in the old Goodyears. Now, bear in mind, this is about as scientific as I get, but the road is awful. The roads around here are absolutely dreadful. So I have to avoid potholes, and I did avoid potholes on every test, but still, just to say, it's not perfectly scientific.
It's never ever going to be perfectly scientific. Unless we hit Millbrook Proving Ground or something like that, exactly. Is it? Yeah. I did a similar thing. I've got 2 runs that I do, one to a local coffee shop, it's about 15 minutes, and one which is a dual carriageway between 2 different roundabouts. So did the run a couple of times before and after, averaged it out. And whilst I don't have the exact figures here, there was a difference of around a decibel between the Davantis and the Hankooks. Now, a decibel, it doesn't sound like a lot, but am I right in thinking decibels are exponential? So when you go up 1 decibel, it's not 1 decibel, it's an exponential of the decibel.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I'm going to quit.
We'll look it up. I'll flash something on.
It sounds about right.
Yeah. And the final thing is efficiency. Now, obviously, with there being electric, if you can have a tyre which will improve your efficiency, you're going to get a longer range on a battery. You're not going to have to charge as often. It's going to be cheaper doing a journey. So what's the efficiency hit or not, or otherwise?
So I tried to be scientific in this respect. Again, failed miserably. So I was testing my efficiency every time I did the noise test. However, I forgot that some days I had the heating on and some days I didn't. So it's not exact. The Goodyears seemed to be more efficient than these, but also bear in mind I'd done 21,500 miles in the Goodyears and just, hundreds of miles in these. And when the tread wears down more, then it tends to get more efficient. So it's not a true test, but the Goodyears seemed a bit more efficient. On the exact same temperature, same route, with different tyres, the Goodyear was 0.1 mile per kilowatt hour more efficient. But that's that's not scientific, is it? So what I want to do is do a proper test one of these days.
I'm pretty much the same. I've actually done way more miles on the new tyres than I had on the old tyres. And again, it's a case of you have to have the same weather conditions, the same road conditions, the same traffic conditions, all that sort of stuff. Very, very difficult. I know that before I put the Hankooks on, I was averaging, depending on the weather, 3.1 miles to the kilowatt hour. It's an old vehicle. It's got inefficient motors. Don't worry about that. I'm now up around 3.4, 3.5. So again, the weather's changed, although you wouldn't guess it today. So I'm comfortable that I'm getting an efficiency improvement. How much it actually is in real terms, I couldn't tell you, but from the data that I've got, 0.1, 0.2 miles per kilowatt hour. So it all adds up. You multiply that by, what have I got, 78 kilowatt hours in this one. So you do the maths, and it's going to give you a good extra number of miles for every tank that you use. Every tank, every charge. There's me. You can
We're so
take.
old-fashioned, aren't we?
I know. You spend 40 odd years driving a internal combustion engine, and then they change it all for you. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So overall, impressions on the tyres.
Well, I'm really impressed with them, but then I really liked my old tyres. So just to say that my Goodyears were fantastic, and these are fantastic as well. And just one little thing I would like to mention, just in terms of noise, is that my daughter said, have we changed the driveway, Dad? Because she noticed that it was much quieter driving onto our terrible gravel driveway, much quieter in these than the old ones. She didn't know that I changed the tyres, because I would have bored her senseless had I told her that. So that was something that she noticed. Now, that could just be the difference in tread. I don't know, but that's something that she noticed. And I did notice after getting the tyres that it was a bit quieter. So that's just the noise thing. The rest of it, as I said, these tyres are practically the same as the old Goodyears, really. And they're great. I've got nothing to complain about. They're fantastic. If I had basic budget tyres, then the difference, I think, would have been more pronounced. But I'm very happy anyway.
Yeah, likewise. So I'm very glad that Hankook put them on for us. And many thanks to Hankook for doing that.
Yes, thank you.
So what can we deduce from this? From Andrew's point of view, he didn't see a great deal of difference because he was replacing quality, fairly low mileage tyres with quality, very low mileage tyres. So the difference wasn't as big. For me, I was replacing a set of budget tyres with indeterminate mileage with a set of quality tyres with 0 mileage. The data I have indicate that these tyres are both quieter and more efficient than the old tyres I had. But overall, there is a certain amount of internal cognitive justification for this. In my mind, these are more expensive tyres that should perform better than cheaper ones. They feel better to drive with, they feel quieter, and I can see there's been an efficiency boost, albeit quite small. Neil told us last season that the brand new tyres will be less efficient for a while until the outer layer of oils, etc. is worn off, and that could account for some of the lower efficiency improvement. But I've now done around 3,000 miles with these tyres, and as the weather improves and heats up, I'm expecting big things. It has to be said, though, that all of these data we're pushing forward are not particularly scientific. There's no control group measurements. We aren't trying to ensure comparative conditions at all times. Some runs were done in warm weather, some were done in wind, some were in traffic, some without. And as I said to Andrew at the time, if we were really serious about this, we'd do a run at somewhere like Millbrook Proving Ground with constant speed around the high-speed track, constant temperature, constant traffic, 10 laps with the old tyres on, 10 laps with the new tyres on, repeat several times over different outside temperatures and weather conditions. But we can't afford to hire at Millbrook, so we're going for what we can. If you're after a longer, more detailed look at the tyres, then Andrew has a full-length video up on his channel, link in the show notes. Having listened to Neil from Hankook last season and the results of the swap this season, do you reckon you'll go for EV-specific tyres next time you need to swap yours? Let me know in the comments.
The EV Musings podcast is sponsored by ZapMap, the go-to app for EV drivers, helping you find and pay for public charging with confidence. ZapMap is free to download and use with subscription plans for enhanced features such as using ZapMap in-car, on CarPlay or Android Auto, and discounted charging across thousands of charge points.
I hope you enjoyed listening to today's show. It was put together this week with the help of Neil Barrett from Hankook Tyres and Mr. EV himself, Andrew Till. Many thanks for the time. If you have any thoughts, comments, criticisms, or other general messages to pass on to me, I can be reached at info@evmusings.com. And on the socials, I'm on Blue Sky at evmusings.bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram at EV Musings, where I post short videos and podcast extracts regularly. So why not follow me there? Thanks to everyone who supports me through Patreon on a monthly basis and through coffee.com on an ad hoc one. If you enjoyed this episode, why not buy me a coffee? Go to coffee.com/EVmusings and you can do just that. ko-fi.com/EVmusings. Takes Apple Pay too. Now, regular listeners will know about my 2 ebooks. So you've gone electric, and so you've gone renewable. First one of those has had a recent update. You'll see with the bright red image on the front, just like I'm showing on the screen here. Both of those are 99p each or equivalent, and you can get them on the Amazon Kindle store. Check out the links in the show notes for more information, as well as a link to my regular EV Musings newsletter and associated articles. Now, I know you're probably driving or walking or jogging or in the shower or washing the car, but if you can remember and you enjoyed this episode, drop a review in iTunes, please. Really helps me out. I did go in and have a look recently at some of the most recent reviews. Thank you very much for those who took time to do that for me. If you've reached this part of the podcast and are still listening, thank you. Why not let me know you've got to this point by messaging me at musingsev.bsky.social with the words overtired. Hashtag if you know nothing else. And thanks as always to my co-founder Simon. I asked him if he ever felt that the electric unicycle wasn't the right vehicle for him. And he told me,
it's all about having confidence, isn't it? And I think I have complete confidence.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.